Hello and welcome back to the One Shot Show, where GMs go to level up. Here be spoilers for a 1,000-year-old story. It's topical, it's of the moment, and by God have I talked about it before. We're talking about the Odyssey.
I'm looking forward to hearing about one fucking thing after another.
One fucking thing after another. Now, as we start this off, the thing that's so entertaining to me... by the way, I've seen this at this point. We're talking about the Odyssey.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, I've seen the recent Nolan film. That's why we're choosing to talk about it now. And Patty actually hasn't. And the thing that I actually need to get out of the way first is Nolan's adaptation is the least one fucking thing after another version of the story that I've ever seen.
Oh, is he doing... we'll talk about this in a sec. Is he doing some timey-wimey?
Oh, yeah, he's doing stuff with his framing device and how he intercuts between, whatever Odysseus is up to and whatever's going on home back in Ithaca. As he always does. He sort of frames it between Ithaca and the island with Calypso, which I think works well because there's the sort of memory fog aspect. He's doing Nolan stuff, right?
We should talk about why we're talking about this in case for some reason this is your first episode.
So, the first thing about this is, look, like I said, the Odyssey is like a 1,000-year-old story by now. I'm not going to go into too much detail about like the things that happen in it, but as a structure, when we think about like classic storytelling structure, the Odyssey is very singular in that its premise is simply one fucking thing after another. It starts at the end of the Trojan War, so at the end of the events of the Iliad. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, leaves from the shores of Troy and is sailing for home. And one fucking thing after another keeps happening to him along the way, right? He's just trying to get home. They roll up to an island. There's some fucking bullshit on that island. They deal with that bullshit. They climb back aboard. They go to the next island, and there's some other fucking bullshit on that island, would you believe? And this takes like 20 years to get home. Now, I say that this is a classic storytelling structure because actually this structure then pops up in a lot of other very famous stories that you might already be familiar with. I've also talked on the show about how The Hobbit is a one fucking thing after another story. Like,
Finding Nemo.
Yeah, Finding Nemo. Nemo is lost. They're trying to get to him. They know where he is. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. And one fucking thing after another keeps happening along the way. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. One fucking thing after another. It is a structure of story that is so simple and so robust and so incredibly apt for tabletop RPGs.
Oh, yeah.
Because you sit down week to week and you got to figure out what the hell's happening next. Now, you might be still wrapping up an arc that's taken a couple of sessions, and then you got to figure out what's going to be in the next arc. A lot of early campaign structure was built around this idea of modules just being this thing that you drag and drop into your world. The module was the fucking thing. And when you were done with that fucking thing, your GM would find another fucking thing to put in front of you, and your whole campaign was just one fucking thing after another, right? That's the structure. And we're talking about the Odyssey right now. We're not actually going to talk in great detail about the Nolan film for what it's worth. I am more interested in talking about the story structure of the Odyssey. But like I said at the start, Christopher Nolan's incarnation is the most mild one fucking thing after another version of the story that I've ever seen. And that its emphasis isn't particularly on the places that Odysseus ends up and the capers that he ends up, a part of. Like the sequence with the sirens takes about 2 minutes on screen, right? For example, totally works in that time. Magnificent sequence. It's not, a tenth of the movie's runtime like it is a tenth of the length of the Odyssey, the story. Same with the Cyclops. The Cyclops, it takes a bit longer than that, mind you. The Scylla, a lot of these beats are really, really quick, short and sharp. And I actually think there are interesting lessons to take from many of them that you can apply to your D&D games, on top of the baseline convention of the Odyssey is just one fucking thing after another, and if all else fails on the narrative layer, one fucking thing after another is a perfect structure for a TTRPG campaign.
Yeah, it's like we say you can call it one fucking thing after another, or you could call it Monster of the Week based sort of structure.
I want you to have another go at that, Patty.
One fucking thing after another.
No, you could do better than that. What?
I think it was me more forgetting that it was there as opposed to a shyness about it.
One forgetting thing after another.
One forgetting thing after another. One fucking thing after another. Monster of the Week. Same sort of idea. It's kind of like we're going to present something new. There's going to be like all of like the phases of discovery inside that mini adventure. The Cyclops is a great one. Like they arrive at the beach, they're going around this island, they find a lot of sheep, they find the cave, they go inside, they try and piece together what's going on. Eventually you realize everything's at a giant scale.
Yeah.
They're trapped inside, and then they have to go for the sneak attack, and then they have to get out, and then they have to get off the island, eh?
Yeah. And that's basically it, right? That's how it kind of plays out. There are a couple of things that this particular incarnation of this telling does that I think are directly applicable to your tabletop RPGs that I do want to touch on. And I'll start with the Cyclops. The Cyclops is the thing they come across first in the film. And usually in most tellings of the story, some do remix the order. Oh, brother, where art thou? The Cyclops shows up way later.
Beautiful Cyclops.
Brilliant. And like, anyway, that's a separate thing. I won't talk about Oh, brother, where art thou? But great movie.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're in a tight spot. Man, I love
my hair. I've lost my train of thought. The Cyclops is meant to be a monster, at least to Odysseus and his crew, and in the film, it is monstrous, right? When I say picture a Cyclops, you're picturing, big thing, eye in the middle of the head. No, the way the eye is done, it's like a Picasso painting. It's like one eye and the face has kind of been twisted about.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a twirl in the nose. It's sort of a sideways, it's like a normal eye has kind of been turned upward on its side a little bit.
I thought it's Goya inspired, like as the aesthetic
a
of
little bit. And it is, as I say, monstrous, which I really enjoyed. The Scylla was similar. Instead of just being this sort of like snake sea thing, it was like you barely see it. You barely get a sense of the scope of it. At the end of the sequence, it retreats into this like wasp nest looking thing on the side of a cliff. It is fascinating. And I love this interpretation of it because it acknowledges that so many of these things are like the example of some of these creatures, like a Cyclops that you can find a stat block for in a lot of fantasy RPGs. Hydras, for example, I know that's not from the Odyssey, but a lot of these like creatures from myth and legend have made their way into stat blocks, and we've seen a picture of a Cyclops so many times, it's kind of lost its impact as this terrifying, strange creature. And by making it monstrous again, it accomplishes that, right? And then that's the first thing that they come across, and you really immediately get... This is off the back of the Trojan War, a war between humans. Like, the gods are involved in their sort of mysterious, distant way. These are real, terrifying, frightening, magical things, right? They then immediately follow that up with the sequence with the giants, the Laestrygonians. And again, in the Odyssey, there's this whole to-do. There's the king of the giants. They have this whole... No, the way that plays out in the film, and again, this is early in the film. I don't feel like I'm meaningfully spoiling here. They show up. There is a child. The child starts screaming. These huge, hulking creatures...
This is the poster shot, eh?
Yeah, this is the poster shot. In incredible suits of armor that looked like nothing like what the Greeks are wearing, show up and just fuck everyone up. They just paste Odysseus's men. 2 ships out of 3, like, don't make it out. They just get hacked to bits in the bay. It is incredible. And again, it makes the world feel cruel and unusual and mysterious. They don't explain what it is. They don't say, yes, the Laestrygonians. They don't like get back on the ship and like explain it to one another. It is like you're in their eyes as it's happening, right? You're experiencing it in the first person where they are coming across these unusual, terrifying things where there's no further explanation. Now, if you want a sense of wonder in your world, but also a sense of danger, that's what you need to fucking do. Don't say, the giants approach you. Describe something terrifying and strange and monstrous. Don't give them the whole backstory about it all. Just make it frightening. Make it real. Deliver it in first person to your players, and they will take the lesson from that. They will come away, much as Odysseus does in the film, with this sense that the danger is much higher and much stranger than he had ever comprehended when he set out.
Beautiful. And yeah, I'm so excited. What are the other... Those are the big monsties, eh? That's all of... what about, in terms of monstrous stuff, what about... Is Piggies in there?
Yes. Cersei's pig sequence, I think, is most people's highlight of the film.
Oh, exciting.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Is this in the same sort of, like, horror-y... Like, when you talk about it...
And this much closer to, like, conventional horror.
Oh, how exciting.
Without giving away much more than that.
Which is another sort of, familiar thing. We have a polymorph spell.
Yep.
But like there's a way, there are ways of doing it.
Hags and crones and sort of, witches of the woods who have these sorts of dark bargain type interactions. It works really well for that.
Is one of your takeaways for looking at Odyssey as a structure for TTRPG the way that the gods function inside in terms of because my recollection of the Odyssey is that the gods, Athena, sort of covers it's a bit of it's like an overarching relationship or touchstone that joins together the one fucking thing after another.
Yeah, and again, it's something I feel the film did really well. I actually think when it comes to, this is maybe going a bit more broad, but when it comes to the sort of retellings of the Greek mythos, we often struggle in modern media with how to actually present the gods.
Yeah.
It's too corny to have Zeus walk on screen. But for some of these,
unless you're doing Clash of the Titans, and in which case corny is the.
But for some of these, if you read the text, the gods are there. They say things to people.
Yeah.
They're in the Aeneid. They're in the sort of cantos of Hercules. I actually think Nolan's way of handling it has been the best representation. They are never particularly on screen with the exception of Athena, who is obviously the sort of patron deity of this story and Odysseus.
Yeah.
And Odysseus' story is a lot about pissing off the gods. They make it clear, he fucks up the Cyclops. The Cyclops is Poseidon's child.
Yeah.
And this means they then back out onto the sea in Poseidon's domain under the full weight of his ire. You never see Poseidon on screen. You don't hear a booming voice from the heavens. But my God, do you feel his presence from there on? Every wrong turn, in the same way that it would have felt to the Greeks, every wrong turning of the tide, every becalming of the wind, every ill-timed storm, every frightening new island they are unwittingly blown toward, feels like the active handiwork of Poseidon himself. And you feel the presence of the god in this story and in this world in the way that the Greeks would have. I've never seen it realized so immersively. Cool. Zeus gets a similar treatment. Cool. He gets it's a little bit more on the nose because there'll usually be a sort of distant thunderclap, but it is also around inclement weather and storms. There's, the scene right towards the end with the suitors when Odysseus has returned home and just, confronts them all. As some of them are walking into the building, they don't know what's about to happen. They just know that they've been brought here by Penelope's decree. And they hear this distant thunder, and one of them remarks, it seems Zeus has an interest in the events of this evening. And that is, again, it is how they would have thought of the gods in their world.
So
they would have
exciting.
gone, oh gosh, okay, these are auspicious events about to unfold. This is an important moment. And fuck me, are they right? Very important moment in the lives of all of those suitors. And again, they're so immersively delivered. And I think that is an interesting way to approach gods in D&D because, again, often they're a bit too on the page, right? You, the GM, are role-playing as God, interacting with, whether you're a warlock's patron and you're sort of on that level of power or you're, a cleric's patron deity. It's actually really cool to have those very mysterious gods. And I've never seen that embodied in such a way. So it certainly gave me ideas for that.
Cool. What so we speak to the overarching narrative structure. We speak to the presence of higher powers. Any other as you watched it, what other things in your D&D brain were firing?
One thing that actually really got me, where the big difference actually that you're going to find between the Odyssey and your D&D campaign is the Odyssey might shock you. It's about Odysseus.
Oh, yes.
It's one guy, right? And there's this crew, and it's a big crew, and over time it's a smaller and smaller crew, and by the end it's just him. Again, spoilers for a 1,000-year-old story. That doesn't work for D&D. But one thing that did occur to me, there's this strange thing that happens in D&D when you're trying to do this kind of story of an increasingly desperate expedition where the numbers are dwindling. The party know that they're all going to live, right? Or do they? Because player character deaths are a thing. So something that it sort of occurred to me is I went, you could totally do this you have the desperate voyage and there's a full crew and there's the few hardy folk who have made it away, which includes our party. And some of the side characters who you give names and personalities to perish through unfortunate circumstances during this voyage. And also, as the player characters die off, they maybe take on some of these characters, right? Like the old grizzled veteran quartermaster makes for a perfectly adequate ranger, you know, 3rd to 5th level ranger in a pinch when someone's character dies. And the crew is low, and now they need to step up. They need to help out with the more dangerous parts, less the stuff that's happening on the ship. And that becomes an expectation you set with your players at the start. You go, here's structurally how we're going to handle player deaths in this, or character deaths in this.
And on a voyage, that kind of makes sense as well. And before you get to the death, I'm remembering that in the thing of each fucking thing, my memory of the Odyssey is kind of like they are often showcasing or testing Odysseus's foibles or particular skill sets, or playing on part of the fun is how will Odysseus solve this particular problem?
Yeah.
Which with you as a GM, even though you don't have one character, you have the benefit of thematically tailoring each, if you're going to use that sort of structure, each particular arc or beat or location or dungeon to go for you, I will hero this particular thing, or for this particular party, I will now play upon your weakness as a party.
Especially if there is at play some kind of cosmic maleficence that is working against them, as there is in the Odyssey, where the gods are real and they are testing Odysseus in many ways, and at times even punishing him. And you know what? In a D&D game, you're God. Not the deities in your setting, it's you, the GM. And you can play it that way, that there is a God, and he is working against you. I know there's a lot to be said for adversarial games. That's a separate topic. We'll talk about it another time. But there is, a thing that you can actually actively take away from this kind of story for your D&D games. And you know what? We've just talked about it for the last 15 minutes. I still think I've got more Odyssey in me. I think this is going to end up coming up again. But that does it for this, I hope, very timely episode of the One Shot Show. Go see the Odyssey in cinemas if you haven't already. Definitely see it in IMAX if you get the chance. And we'll see you in the next one.
Hello, dear listener. If you're enjoying listening to the One Shot Show, we'd love to have you on a Discord server. Get in touch with us over our socials or email and we'll give you an invite link. If you back us on Patreon, you'll get some additional stuff in that Discord server, such as contributing questions to our live monthly Q&A sessions where we go over last month's episodes. If you back us on Patreon, you'll also get access to a whole bunch of other stuff, such as bonus episodes and all sorts of other cool things. Go ahead and check it out, and thanks for listening.